Hey guys, it's Jaylon. Welcome back. I'm here today to share with you my update for Pan in Every palette. This is a project I started back in January of 21 when I first started my channel. And the goal of this project is to hit pans in my eyeshadow palettes. I have this broken up into 3 categories. The first category, I have 5 palettes, and those are all randomly chosen for me, but I choose the shade. The second group of palettes, there are 3, and those are also randomly chosen, but the shade is also randomly chosen, and the shade is randomly chosen for me. And then the third section is the project level up that was created by Sophie, Alexandra, and I am currently working on level 1, which I'm kind of reintroducing this month. Ziggy, where'd you go? Because I really haven't touched that palette. Last year, end of year, was 100% focused on my Norvina palette for Pan That palette. And so far this year, beginning of this year, been focusing on my Pan That palette that I introduced this year and trying to get use on palettes that I ignored the last 2 months of the year. So yeah, I haven't had any. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll talk more about that whenever I get to that section. But those are the 3 categories of palettes that I'm working on. So I'm going to go through the palettes that I had pulled into this project, and then we will talk about my progress. So the first group are, again, palettes that are randomly chosen for me, where I pick the shades. And here are the 5 palettes I was working on. The first one is the ColourPop Lilac You A Lot palette. Then I have the first of many Pat McGrath palettes in this project right now. This is the Utopian Dream palette. Then I have the Nomad Cartagena Mágica palette. The Dior, let's see, what do they call this? Backstage Eye palette in Cool Neutrals. And lastly, I have the ColourPop Marielle collaboration. Marielle? Yeah. Control Alt Glam. Then for the section where the shade is randomly chosen for me, there again are 3. And I have the Pat McGrath Bridgerton collaboration Diamond of the First Water. The ColourPop Tim Burton's collaboration Nightmare Before Christmas. And the Pat McGrath Mothership 5, I believe. No, 10 Moonlit Seduction. And then, well, I'll talk about what I'm rolling in for level up here in a little bit. First, let's talk about, did I hit pans in any of these palettes? Unfortunately, no. This is going to be somewhat of a boring update. I don't even know that I'm close to anything. If I do feel like I'm close to hitting pan in something as I look through these, I will pull in another palette, because sometimes I do that. But let's look at these palettes. The first one I have is the ColourPop Lilac You A Lot palette. This one, I didn't realize this, but a lot of these ColourPop palettes just they start to flake off. They go through a lot of heavy use whenever I'm panning them. Anyway, the shade that I'm working on is Iffy, which is this one. You know, this one is beautiful combined with what I'm working on in the Bridgerton palette. They're so pretty together. In fact, I did that the other day and I was like, oh, so pretty. So here is this beautiful purple shade. Love it. Then I have the Pat McGrath Utopian Dream palette. And the shade I'm working on in here is Astral Amethyst Moon, which is this one. I'm actually going to put this over a wet base so we can see what it really looks like. Gorgeous. And as you can see, I do have a slight dip going in this palette, but nothing major. Same goes for the shade Iffy. I mean, I didn't even talk about it, but there's not a lot happening. I mean, there's a dip in here, but I think I have a ways to go before I hit pan. Next, I have the Nomad Cartagena Mágica palette. I actually think I may be close to hitting pan on this one. I'm working on the shade La Luz Malva, which is this one. And I am kind of digging my brush in this corner. I do think I'm close. So perhaps, I don't know how deep these pans are, but maybe I'll roll in a palette for this because I think I'm close. And I actually think I'm close on this one too now that I look at it. This is the Dior Backstage eye palette in the Cool Neutrals colorway. And I'm working on this shade down here, which is Plum. It's a matte shade. And I use this in my like outer, very outer corner. I did use it today, but then I put another color that's in this project on top of it. I may be close. Maybe. But I think I'm closer on the Nomad palette. Oh, I didn't swatch the Nomad palette. I think I'm closer on the Nomad palette, so I will probably pull something in for this one instead of the Dior, just because this is a shimmer and that's a matte, and shimmers are much easier to hit pan in than matte shades. So there is the Dior shade and there's the Nomad shade. And the last palette I have in this section is the Marielle and ColourPop collaboration Control Alt Glam. And I am working on this beautiful shade Glitch right here, this blue. I do have a little bit of this top like on the very center of my lid. This is beautiful. As you can see, I have not used very much of it. I think I've used it twice. It's gorgeous, but I've only used it twice. It'll get its due love. Like there will be a time that I will use this. Now I'm working on some greens right now that are in the NFL project that ends in February. So pretty. Actually, I'm gonna try putting this over a wet base. I haven't done that yet, at least swatch wise. So whenever that project is done, it'll free up some of my ability to work on like blues and greens that are in this project and other projects. Yeah, it's beautiful. All right, so those are all the shades that I'm working on where I chose the shade. Now for the palettes where the shade was randomly chosen for me. The first one, let me do this in order, is the Pat McGrath Bridgerton Diamond of the First Water. This one I think is close to you guys. Oh, I've been using this so much lately. I'm working on this shade. You can see my dip there. I don't know if anybody's used this palette, but I feel like I'm close, but maybe I'm not. This is a very compressed shadow, so you don't need very much in order to have impact. And it's also a nicely pigmented shade. Now, as I mentioned, I like to mix it with this purple. So let me show you what that looks like, 'cause I think it's beautiful. And one of the things I love to do whenever I am working on shadows like this is to just see what happens when you mix them. Oh my gosh. It's so pretty. So pretty. So I am quite enjoying that combo. I was like, am I close to hitting pan on that? There's no way. But this one might be close. Has anybody hit pan in this? Am I going to be crazy for rolling in? I feel like I'm close. Watch it take me an entire month to hit pan. I mean, I use that shade pretty often. And the next one I have is the ColourPop Nightmare Before Christmas Tim Burton collaboration. And the shadow I have pulled in here is actually from I changed shadows in this palette when I did my eyeshadow palette declutter. And I pulled a shadow from the ColourPop and Kathleen Lights palette. And it is this shade here. So it's not meant to be, but that's the thing it's in. So anyway, as you can see, I do have a little bit of progress there. I do have this on the very outer corner of my crease. And I do love this shade. It is quite stunning. Very pigmented, beautiful. So I'll continue to work on that with the green looks as I continue to do those. Love that shadow. And the last palette that I have is the Moonlit Seduction palette. And the shade that was randomly chosen for me is this one here. And this shade is Blitz Venus. Now, I'm going to be honest to say I have not really used this because this shadow was so similar to a lot of the shades. I mean, I wouldn't say it's exactly the same, but I had a lot of like neutral shimmery shades in my Norvina palette that I was working on, and that was like 100% taking priority. So I just did not get a lot of use on this in the last month. Oh, but it's so pretty. Now, I will say I do have a couple of shades similar to this in my Pan That palettes because I'm working on so many. But I think I can still get some use on this. It's beautiful. So those are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shadows I am working on. So now let's talk about my Project Level Up palette. This was going to be my level 5 palette towards the end of last year, but I pulled it in like October, and I knew that I wasn't going to get to this really until the beginning of the year because 100% of my focus was on the Norvina palette. So I'm going to reintroduce it this month. This is the Odin's Eye Alva 2 palette. And here is what this beauty looks like. So this is going to be level 1. Now, there are a couple shades in here I will not use, and they are the glitters. They are these 2 shades here. I just will not use glitters. Ziggy decided to join us. So anyway, for Project Level Up, level 1, I will be using each of these shades once and then hitting pan in one of the shades. I'll just use some of these shades. Maybe I'll focus on, like, to work with this blue. Like this dark blue, maybe? That'd be nice. Ooh, that's a good idea. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do, so this isn't so boring, I'm going to roll in a palette for the Nomad one and the Bridgerton palette. My plan is I will not use those until I hit pan in these, but at least I'll have like the next shadow to work on. So we're going to roll 2 palettes, and one is a shade I pick, one is a shade that is picked for me. Okay, I think this is updated, but for some reason, if it's not, I'll let you know if there's a palette that I can't use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull 2 palettes and decide once I pull them which one I'm going to pick a shade from and which one is going to be randomly chosen for me. Okay, here we go. The first palette, Dose of Colors Blushing Berries. I think that's an all matte palette. And number 2, a BH Cosmetics Romantic Nomad. That's fine. I worked on that palette for I used each shade 5 times in my Throwback 30 project from last year, I want to say. So anyway, that's fine. All right, let me go grab these. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. I'm so happy Ziggy decided to join us. All right, I'm going to first start with the Dose of Colors Blushing Berries palette. It's been a while since I've looked at this one. It's beautiful and it is untouched. Okay, let's look at the BH Cosmetics Romantic Nomad palette. Here is the palette. That's the back of it. Here's the front. And here is this guy. Okay. Which one do I want to take a chance on? Okay, I think I'm going to take a chance on this and have it randomly choose a shade for me. Because I have used each of these shades 5 times already, I don't think it'll take me long to hit pan in these. These pans are very tiny. I don't know how much is in here because everything on here has started to rub off. And I'm going to go ahead and pick a shade out of here. Now, one thing I do know that I need is a bit of a lighter crease shade. So I'm tempted to go easy with this guy, the first shade. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I need a shade like this right now. I don't really have anything that's like where I can sheer it out really well, like nicely as a first crease shade. I'm just going to take like a first crease brush and see what this, see, I need something like that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go easy on myself and roll in this first shade, which is Berry Chic. And then we are going to have the random gods pick a shadow in here for me. There are 16 shades. So let me grab my phone and we're going to do a random number generator. Ziggy, where did you go? All right, I have 1 to 16. Let me reduce the brightness here and we'll see what we get. Number 14. That's going to be one of the dark shades. Okay, I can do this. It's this really dark purple. have to look up to see how much shadow is in these pans, because I don't think it's very much. There's that shadow. All right, there we go. There's my color story. To be honest, I know I said I probably wouldn't work on these until I'll probably will. I'll probably break my rule because these are such easily wearable shades for me that I think I may go ahead and start working on them. We will see. Anyway, that is going to be it for this update. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you're doing well and staying safe. Please hit that subscribe button and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Hello, baby. Hi. Hi. He was hiding from the housekeeper. That's what he does. Hi. Somebody got kisses last night. Hi, baby. Look at this leg. Well, do you want me to pet you or not? No? Okay, bye.